and welcome to this new episode of HTV. Hear their voices. This is an Icon podcast. My name is Priscilla Ozodo-Acevedo, and it's such a joy to be your host today on this Icon podcast. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time and you're like, Icon, what is that? Someone just sent this to you and you're like, what in the world is this? Well, here you go. ICON is the International Committee on Nigeria, and we promote human dignity, the right to live and religious freedom, and the protection of the vulnerable from ethnic and religious persecution in Nigeria. And on this season of the podcast, we've been talking about hope for Nigeria, ICON's vision for all Nigerians. And we have been bringing guests. It's been a joy. We've brought friends from Nigeria, friends from here in the US, talking about their hopes and prayer for Nigeria while shedding light and bringing some awareness to the atrocities that are still happening in Nigeria. As you know, education is one of the areas that has been attacked the most by the militants, the Fulani militants and Boko Haram in Nigeria. And so on today's episode, I'm excited to introduce you to a good friend of mine. Now, our guest is not just a friend. She is my sister. We are soul sisters, okay? Sister from another mister. She has been an inspiration to me. She's an actor. She's an activist. She is the director and founder of the Before and After Academy, which was in Jos, Nigeria. She also is the lead person and CEO of a nonprofit called Bosita, which is involved with rescuing human trafficked slaves. Ven is also just a passionate person. She is a leader. She is a fighter. She has a heart for Nigeria and has lived and grown up in Jos. Join me as we welcome a very special guest whose face you're going to be seeing a lot more of. Join me to welcome Ven to the studio. Welcome.
Thank you, Sila. So glad and feels good to be here.
We've talked about this for so long, about being on the show together, and I'm so excited. But before we go, can you help me tell our guests how to share this? Because I share it on I get the link, but you have been watching this for a while. So how have you engaged with this, and how have you shared this with people that you care about? So what can they do now to make sure they're not watching this alone? Because that's my slogan. I say you cannot watch the podcast by yourself. So what should they do right now?
Okay, I would say first, don't just play it and go do something else. Play it and stay in and watch and listen, and then like it. And then share it to your friends. You can copy the link and go to your WhatsApp, which is very popular. You can go to your even Instagram, go to Twitter, go to Facebook, and just share, because everyone needs to hear. And then when they hear, they get into it, and then they can do something about it. So let's be our brothers and sisters keepers, you know? So right now, as you're watching it, you can just start clicking and sharing. Remember, you have to like it too. So watch, like, share. Watch, like, share. Don't keep it to yourself alone. Share. Sharing is caring, they said. So let's do it.
Watch, like, share. I love that. I love that. Love that. And subscribe. We'll add a caveat to the end. Watch, like, share, then subscribe, because you want to know when next we're having our next podcast, right? So Ven, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Our audience may have heard about you, or they may not have heard about you. Give us a little bit of background about who you are and how you got into this advocacy kind of space.
Oh man, I am vibrant, I am passionate, and I'm also artistic. I love art and I love using art, but I also care deeply for people. So in my caring deeply for people, using unorthodox ways to get especially the young people, my NGO was started, Bosita Made, which is a youth developmental NGO. So we go using unorthodox ways. Like for me, I will use my arts because I love art. We challenge people to use their talent to show forth and contribute to societal development. So you start from little to the bigger. That's for the NGO. And of course, we rescue girls too. either domestic trafficking, internationally trafficked, or otherwise. But we don't just rescue them, we mentor them. We see them as humans and we mentor them to become relevant in their communities because it's family, community, society. So we say start from home and then your community and then the society will be a better place, right? And then we challenge people that if you think that this thing is far from you, you don't know where your child, your brother, your sister, your nephew, or niece would meet these people and you don't know who they're meeting. So if you don't contribute to fighting human trafficking, it might just come knocking on your door. In summary. And then I ran a school called Before and After School Academy, which is like a childcare center. It's a crèche, it's a preschool. We started with grade school, and then it's a performing arts school. Like I told you, I love art, I love creativity. So we challenge young people, like bring them up the right way from when they're very little, with God in the heart of them all. And God not just with words, but God with etiquette, God with character. No matter how intelligent you are, if your character is zero, nobody wants to be around you, nobody wants to work with you. So that impact you want to make in the society will be lost because there'll be no room for you if everyone runs away from you. After all, God created us for relationship. Anyway, that with my work. And then I act. I love to act. That's where I met you, Silla, right? So yeah, I call her Silla, people. So yeah, Priscilla. We met and I love to act. Yeah, I love to act. I love to create stuff. And the acting is not just for acting, but for social justice. So any script that has social justice in it, I'm like, yeah, you got me. We have to change the world. We have to start from what we have in our hands. And since I have acting, I have art, I'm going to use what I have in my hand to change the world. And awesome. Interestingly, I love God, vibrant, passionate. Yes, Silla.
Yes. That's amazing. And I love that you brought up the topic of acting and how you can use that in social justice. And I'll come to that. Today we are focusing on how difficult it is and the fear of just living a simple life in Nigeria today. A few weeks ago, we've heard about the kidnap at a Christian school, at a Baptist school in Kaduna, where over 100 kids are still missing. And there's this fear to just live a simple life. So Ven, could you do a favor for me and describe the freedom of your life before this insecurity increase happened and the restriction of your life right now as an average person living in Nigeria today?
I could say because I grew up here, was birthed here, grew up here, and so my life had always been in Jos. I could travel and go back to Jos. So I could start from my childhood. I remember when we used to have Muslim neighbors. And we could go into each other's houses, we could eat. It wasn't in existence to say, oh, I don't trust this person because it's gonna harm me. We're free, we can move from. I remember my mother's church was in a neighborhood that was predominantly, in fact, 100% Muslims. And we could go there and we could have night vigils, and at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., we're walking through the neighborhoods to get cabs to go back home. There was that freedom. My dad could send me at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. to a shop because it was free, because we can play all night, feel free. And there was never the idea or thought of someone is gonna harm me. You know, of course there were armed robbery and stuff, but the sense of security was secured. It was there. You know, I could travel from one point to the next. I could do whatever I wanted to do. Schooling was new. I could walk to school by myself, come back by myself. No idea that someone is going to grab me from school or something wrong is going to go wrong when I'm in school. There was that. All through that. My university was in Kaduna, Zaria. Of course, a little tension, but I still felt the freedom of moving around. I had lots of Muslim friends. I go to their houses. My lecturers were okay with us, my Muslim lecturers. Everything was fine until it started. And it started like a joke. It was so sudden. And here we are today. Today, I cannot move freely. There are neighborhoods that I know that are no-go area. I mean, those were simple things. They were just normal life for me. They were just things that I just did without preparation, without any mental, stress of saying, okay, no, I could just do. But today, I can't move around freely. I can't move around. I told you I ran a school, yeah? There was a tension of, if I go to school, who is going to come in today? Are the kids really safe with me? What do I tell the parents? How is it going to be today? Are we going to hear gunshots? Is a kidnapper going to come? And a lot of other people can relate with me about that. What about where my office, my school is located? Is it a safe place, or suddenly that's become a danger zone? Because of course, today there are neighborhoods that we cannot just freely go to. You have to check the time sometimes. As long as it's 6, 7 for me in Jos, I'm running home because I don't know what is happening. And people are like, you don't have a social life. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't. So I go to Lagos, or I come to Abuja, which is where I am right now. And my sisters and friends are wondering, because it's already in me. Once it's 6, 7, I'm not going out. And they're like, but here is free. And I'm like, where I'm coming from, my mental state, there's a shift, And again, today, because of how rampant the kidnapping and all that is happening, I can't even freely travel to Jos. Wow. It's a simple life. I used to travel back and forth, Abuja, Jos, do work, go back and stuff. But today I'm thinking, I'm tense. I'm scared, really afraid. What if? I mean, there are roadblocks by the military men and by the police. But how sure am I that they're really military men and the police?
Yeah.
So there's that tension, and it's becoming too much. Two of my family members from Abuja to Jos. How far is Abuja to Jos? Because of the roads, you can say 4 or 5 hours, but they fly. They'd rather spend like 10 times the amount that they'll pay for a road journey, for flying, for safety. Safety from what? Kidnappers? Is it whoever? Is it bandits or whoever that want to? So it's not just about me. That's what a lot of us are experiencing in today's Nigeria. Like, how safe am I? Is it okay to go to the market? Is it okay to travel? How safe are school children? Will my niece and nephew? And parents are wondering, would my kids go to school and come back home? Am I going to receive a phone call saying something has happened? Or am I going to wait and say my child is missing and then realize that a kidnapper has actually done away? It's so... Yeah, it's so...
Go ahead.
Okay, it's so close to home right now, Sila. Because initially it was kidnappings happening in Maiduguri, Borno State. And we felt it. And we did the Bring Back Our Girls and all of that. And people like Leah, sadly, are gone. Then it was Adamawa Gombe. And we're like, oh, well, today is in Kaduna. How far is Kaduna from Abuja? How far is Jos from Kaduna? So that's the tension. What next is going to happen?
Yeah, and I just want to sit on that a little bit. The insecurity of students getting educated. We've heard the Bring Back Our Girls, which was one random case, and it was huge, made news. And suddenly you can't even know what girls you're talking about anymore, because there has been several schools that have been affected, several kids that have been kidnapped, taken away from their parents. It's ridiculous how this insecurity issues. As a school owner, how do you think this insecurity has affected the simple life of education? Education was just a normal thing. You sent your children to school without thinking. As an educator, how do you think it's affected just the average person doing the simple thing of sending their kids to school?
Or the average child that is excited to go to school but can't. Because we might think that adults are the only ones that are afraid. Children are traumatized too. And you have to dig in to really know that they're traumatized. You just see a change in behavior. How? I mean, education, there's this campaign, UN, Education for All, freedom of education, go to school, even trying to pay up some people, like they'll be feeding, like, incentives so they can go to school today. No. Why? Because I'm not safe. I don't feel safe to study. Even teachers don't feel safe to go to school. That's tampered with.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, I will touch a little bit of agriculture and connect it to education, especially for the rural people in the villages. Their farms are always, yesterday I saw a picture that just broke my heart. Rion, my mother is from Gashish. She can't go to the village. That village used to be my playground. Today I can't go because of Fulani militants, right? So for the rural parents that send their kids to school, whether it's free, you have to buy one thing or other, socks, school uniform, and all of that. Their source of income is what? Their farm produce. And now the Fulani militants are destroying them. So it means there's a tremendous reduce in their income. What happens? Even if the kidnappers do not go to that school to take away the kids, they will withdraw their children from school because they can't afford it again.
Yeah.
So education is affected, And so you wonder, and then they bring them back. And sadly, in some rural areas, if a child is like 14, 15, what do? Go and work too. So instead of the education, the future of every nation is education in the hands of the young people. The child goes to work or become a vigilante to protect, safeguard society. A child that needs protection becomes the protector. You see how the education, the impact of what is happening on education and how it's spreading out.
Yeah.
So there are different angles and aspects to what is really happening. For we school owners, we're like, can I deal with this? The trauma of, if this happened, these people place their children in my care. Yes. What do I tell them? What do I tell myself? What do I tell the society? Would people really understand that this is what is happening? I remember a scenario. We're in school, and with all the craziness that has been happening in Jos, there were gunshots. I closed the school that day for a week afterwards. I couldn't stand it because gunshots were so close, and we're wondering, and the children were in there. So you're traumatized for yourself, and then you're traumatized for the kids. And then you have little kids that cannot even articulate what they are feeling for you to even know how to. And then you're stuck. So it's really a very sad, is not even the word. It's really a heartbreaking, disillusioned situation that we find ourselves.
Yeah. Let's talk about trauma for a second then, because you and I have been talking about this and how mentally stuck a lot of people feel in Nigeria right now, because you can't send your children to school. Children can't go to school. And mental health is not like a thing. I need you to help educate our audience about, here they're like, send them to a child psychologist. And I'm just going to go back a little bit to explain to our audience. When Ven was saying the crisis started in Maiduguri, that's further north. It came back down to Adamawa, and now it's in Kaduna, which is closer to Jos, and then Abuja is the national capital. So the terrorism is literally moving north and down south, and we're even finding further down south there has been militant attacks, and we'll talk about that on another chat. But then, what has been your experience with, as you work with people, you work with a lot of people, how have you seen this trauma affect mental health, knowing that we don't have a lot of access to mental health care in Nigeria?
This situation of mental health, Silla, I try to call you Priscilla, then I go with Silla, so people bear with me. But it's deep and it's sad because mental health is not, permit me to say, our culture in this country. If you have mental health and it's severe, they call you a mad person, you find yourself on the street. And the bundle, nobody wants to be close to you, nobody wants to associate with yourself. In fact, nobody wants to associate herself with your family or friends to talk more of you. And what leads mostly to mental health is the situation around. It's traumatic. I have done, let me use myself. I've done this rescuing of girls, go to the brothels, go to communities, was all loud. I was in radio. Because what you go and see, people don't know. So you want to loud it out for them. We need to do something because it's hidden, but it's staring at us in the face, right? But there was no outlet for me. So as I was taking in rescuing girls, rehabilitating them, giving them psychosocial support.
Yeah.
I wasn't having for myself. So I broke down. Behavioral change, very emotional, can easily snap at people, didn't want people I'm introverted, of course, I am, when it comes to people. But it got worse, so you can imagine.
Yeah.
You know, and you're stuck somewhere, you're wondering where is the help? And nobody seemed to understand you because it's not in our culture.
Yeah.
People are wondering, why don't you just get over it? Just get on and do the work. And you're like, the work is causing something dysfunctional inside of me. But who do I go to talk to? Who would really understand me?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that we do not have therapists or we do not have psychologists, but how many people know about that? How many people even understand that mental health needs therapy? How many people can afford it? How many people, can really get that? So more awareness on that can be done. But it's really a bad situation because first you're traumatized. And so mentally you go Google, right? And then you don't even understand it. And when you try to share with the next person, the person does not even understand, not because the person doesn't want to understand, but because the person does not understand it. It's not in us. So how do we move on from here?
Yeah.
I could use my experience with trafficking, with sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. A lot of people that have experienced that end up abusing, becoming the abuser, were abused. So I could say, now this is not a fact or it's something standing on stone, but I could say when they were abused, did they pass through therapy? Did they pass through counseling?
There was no
What
healing.
went on with their mindset, with their mental state, that today they are the abusers. So it becomes like a vicious circle. Now, with what is happening today and people are going crazy, there are a lot of people that I hate calling, but that's what people know them with, IDPs. And I'm like, do they have names? Oh, that's the have a name, and she's not human. What does that do to her? We're making it like we see her as a product or a tool that we use for work. Is she really human? Do you treat her as that? How does that affect her? And why is she an IDP? Most of the time is because of the happenings in Nigeria, right? Around us. So there are a lot of issues with mental health that we don't even understand or even know it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're going to ask me this question, but I'm going to go ahead and say more awareness for the few people that know what mental health really is.
Yeah.
More awareness in a way that would step down up to the grassroots level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should be done and explained in a way that rural people, grassroots communities can understand, and then a way out. If this is happening to you, this is what you need to do. If this is happening to a family member, to a friend, this is how you can help the person, Yeah, I'm going to stop
That's
here.
beautiful. There's so much. I think the hard thing is there's so many layers, Ven. I think as we talked about education, then education is affected by agriculture. Agriculture is affected because there's insecurity, and this is affecting mental health. And the average Nigerian is going through all of this at the same time. So the question is there hope? And if there is hope, what is your hope for Nigeria?
There's hope for Nigeria.
Amen.
There's hope for Nigeria. I would say there's hope for Nigeria confidently because For me, as a child of God, I know that God created us for a reason and He placed us in Nigeria for a reason. Okay? So there's hope for Nigeria. And one way is, I would say, is even through what we are doing right now. We're on the podcast. It's a way of creating awareness, giving out information, educating people on really what's going on, and that there are people that kind of like get it or are even experiencing it. So we're taking the message out there. If others can join us on board, and that's why we say share, 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 right? And sometimes it might not even be social media sharing. You could sit during conversations with friends, with family members. You can talk about these things and even refer them to Icon as a source, you know? So there's hope for Nigeria. It sounds very disillusioned. It seemed like nothing can be done. But as long as we're living, there's hope. That's one thing I know, and we can do it. I could use that. Some schools have been brought down, destroyed because of the kidnapping, or brought down because of bombings or whatever, but there's still schools going on. So education is not all that lost. So let's keep going at it, and let's not be quiet so that it doesn't become worse than where it is right now. So for me, I've joined the wagon, and I'm using this platform to loud it out to people as one of my platforms to say, people, hear this, don't keep it to yourself. Sharing is caring. Hear this, share it to the next person. If you need to do a rally where you are, if you need to put together some people and go out there and contribute in whatever way you can, then go for it. But there's hope, and it needs the work of all of us. Yeah.
Amen. There's hope for Nigeria, but it takes work. It takes work from each and every one of us. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for speaking and sharing your heart on this platform. There is definitely a lot of work to be done, but I'm excited that you're on board. We're going to be working together, and it's going to be a great time. What last words will you leave out? I know you said sharing is caring, but what can they do now, today, to make a difference?
Today, first I'll say think and act. Process what you've heard and act on it.
Amen.
And you know, when I say act, it's positive acting. So act on it positively. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you for joining me. Whew. Thanks for joining me, Ven. It's been a pleasure having you today. Hopefully, I know we'll be seeing much more of you on the show. And yes, until then, have a wonderful day. And to our viewers, you all heard it. Sharing is caring. What can you do today? What can you do now to join the fight? Some of you woke up, sent your children to school, or it's summer, maybe not, and you're going about your normal life, and just think about those who are not able to go about life as they knew it. It's not like this is the way it's been forever, but suddenly we cannot do life like we used to. What can you do? You can speak about it. You can share this. Yesterday, with some of my colleagues, I just started telling them about the podcast, and today they said, send me a link. I want to watch it. I'm going to share it. Talk about it. Talk about what you're learning. How can we make a difference today? If every one of you who are watching this right now, click that share button and select 5 to 10 people to share it with, we will have 5 to 10 more people watching this, and 5 to 10 more people that can get involved. So follow us on social media. I can help one on Instagram and Twitter, iconhelp.org. Go to iconhelp.org/engage. Download the Silent Slaughter book that gives you adequate information. Some of you feel like I don't know enough. Download the Silent Slaughter book. It gives you so much information, and you can learn more about how to be an advocate against the atrocities going on in Nigeria today. So I'm excited. We will keep the conversation going. God bless you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.